History remembers the generals, the presidents, the leaders whose names are written in books. But what about the men and women whose blood, sweat, and sacrifice carried the Philippines through its darkest wars? Today, we tell the story of the forgotten heroes of Philippine wars, names lost in time, yet their courage shaped the nation. The first war that shook the islands was against Spain. Centuries of colonization and oppression led to the cry of freedom. But while history remembers leaders like José Rizal, Andrés Bonifacio, and Emilio Aguinaldo, it often forgets the countless Katipuneros who fought in secret groups with nothing but bolos and hope men, like Macario Sakay, who wore his hair long as a symbol of defiance. He led a guerrilla war long after the Philippine Republic had fallen, refusing to surrender until he was betrayed and executed, called a bandit by the colonizers, but a hero by the people. And what about Gregoria de Jesus, the Lacambini of the Katipunan, who carried secret messages, weapons and documents, risking her life every day? She was not on the battlefield with a sword, but without her, the revolution would have collapsed. Women like her remain shadows in history, but they carried the flame forward. The war against Spain merged into the war against America. The Philippine-American War was brutal, forgotten by the world, yet it cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of Filipinos. History books highlight Aguinaldo's capture and the famous generals. But what about heroes like General Antonio Luna, remembered now for his fiery temper and discipline, but forgotten for decades? His vision of a professional, disciplined army could have changed the war had his own countrymen not betrayed him. And men like General Vicente Lucban, who led resistance in Samar, holding out against overwhelming American forces. His people suffered massacres, but his defiance kept the spirit of freedom alive. Then there was Teresa Magbanua, the Visayan. Joan of Arc. She took up arms, led men into battle, and proved that women were just as capable of fighting for the motherland. Her bravery was so legendary that even American officers respected her. Yet her story is hardly told. The forgotten heroes of this war were not just generals but farmers, peasants, and children who carried water, cooked food, scouted enemy movements, and paid with their lives. Their names never recorded, but without them, the revolution would not have survived. Then came World War II, when the Philippines once again became a battlefield against Japanese invasion. Everyone knows about General Douglas MacArthur and his famous line, "I shall return." But who remembers the Filipinos who never left the soldiers who fought at Bataan and Corregidor, who marched in the Death March where thousands died of hunger, thirst, and brutality? Men like Captain Nieves Fernandez, the only known woman guerrilla leader in Leyte. She taught her men how to use knives to silently kill enemies, and she fought fearlessly for her people. Or Jose Abad Santos, the Chief Justice, who refused to collaborate with the Japanese even when offered his life. He chose death, saying he would rather die than betray his country. His courage inspired countless Filipinos, yet many today do not even know his name. There were also guerrilla leaders like Macario Peralta, who organized thousands of men in Panay, keeping the Japanese tied down and rescuing civilians. Or Ramon Magsaysay, who later became president, but began as a guerrilla leader in Zambales, working directly with locals to fight back. Every mountain and jungle of the Philippines had hidden warriors who resisted Japanese occupation, ordinary fishermen, farmers, and students who turned into soldiers at night, striking supply lines, sabotaging bridges, passing intelligence to the Allies, and then vanishing back into the crowd. Unsung ghosts of war. Even children played their part as couriers, messengers, and spies. Their bravery often cost them their lives. Yet their names never appeared in history books. When MacArthur returned in 1944, it was the courage of these Filipinos that made his landing possible, but their sacrifices remained forgotten after World War II. Another war raged within the Philippines itself. The Hukbalahap Rebellion originally formed to fight the Japanese. The Hukbalahap, or Hukbo ng Bayan Laban sa Hapon, was made up mostly of peasants from central Luzon. They fought bravely against the invaders, but after the war, instead of being honored, they were hunted, branded as communists and rebels. Many of these men and women who had risked everything for the country were killed or imprisoned, their stories erased. Yet without their resistance, the Japanese might have held Luzon far longer, moving forward to the Korean War. Many forget that Filipinos fought there too. As part of the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea, thousands volunteered to fight in a foreign land to defend freedom. Their bravery earned respect from allies and enemies alike. But back home, they received little recognition, and their sacrifices faded from memory. Then came the Vietnam War. Once again, Filipino soldiers and medics were sent not to fight directly, but to support Allied forces. They built roads, hospitals, and provided medical aid, saving countless lives, but history hardly mentions their work. Their mission was not filled with glory, but with compassion and service. Still, it was a sacrifice far from home, forgotten in silence. The forgotten heroes are not just soldiers, but also nurses, doctors, engineers, and ordinary workers who carried the Philippine flag into battlefields far from home. Many of them never came back, and their names were never carved into monuments, but their work saved lives and shaped history. And what about the Muslim warriors of Mindanao, whose resistance against colonization lasted centuries? While the North and Central Philippines fell under Spanish rule, many Moro leaders like Sultan Kudarat fought on refusing to surrender. Their story is rarely told in the same breath as other heroes, but their defiance kept alive the flame of freedom in the South, proving that Filipinos of all regions fought their own wars for survival and identity. There are also the unsung seafarers who manned supply ships, the cooks who fed soldiers, the medics who patched up the wounded under gunfire. Their names are forgotten, but their role was crucial. Without them, no battle could have been fought. Without them, no victory could have been won. The truth is, the history of Philippine wars is not written only by presidents and generals. It is written by millions of nameless faces. Farmers who turned into fighters, mothers who became couriers, children who carried secret notes, women who sheltered soldiers, priests who offered their churches as hideouts, and fishermen who guided guerrillas through rivers and seas. They were never honored in textbooks. They were never celebrated on monuments, but they were the backbone of every war and every victory. We remember Bonifacio Rizal, Aguinaldo MacArthur, but do we remember the Katipunero, who died with no name in a rice field? The nurse who bandaged wounds until bombs ended her life? The guerrilla boy who never reached 16 yet, carried messages through forests? These are the forgotten heroes of Philippine wars, their stories hidden under layers of time. Yet without them, the Philippines might not even exist today. To forget them is to erase the true soul of the nation, because the real strength of the Philippines has always been its people. Ordinary citizens rising to do extraordinary things when their country needed them most. The forgotten heroes live not in books, but in the bloodlines of families across the islands. Every Filipino today carries the legacy of someone who fought, sacrificed, or suffered in silence for freedom. And though their names may never be written in stone, their spirit is carved forever into the heart of the nation. The forgotten heroes of Philippine wars remind us that true heroism is not about medals or monuments. It is about courage in the face of impossible odds and sacrifice even when no one is watching. And when we remember them, we remember what it truly means to be Filipino.